All right, everybody. Good morning and welcome to Keep Talking 365. This is Murph, and I am your host for Keep Talking 365. Good morning. Saturday morning. We got a lot to go over today. Last week, I gave you a little bit of sports, and I think this week you're going to get a little bit of what I'm trying to, the message I'm trying to convey with Keep Talking 365 here is a little bit of sports, a little bit of politics, some current events, and a lot of my opinions. And listen, if you look at the mantra above my YouTube channel, it says it's worth a conversation. The way I look at everything, guys, in this life is everything is worth a conversation. Everybody's got opinions. Everybody's got thoughts. Everybody thinks they're right. Nobody thinks they're wrong. But you know what, though? At the end of the day, they're all opinions, and the world needs to talk a lot more. So the name of the channel is Keep Talking 365. If you go to YouTube, hit that subscribe button. That'll help out. Also, I am back on Spotify. So I'm going to put that link out in the comments as soon as I put this out as a podcast. And if you don't want to see my ugly face, you can always go to Spotify and listen to the audio. So anyway, today I gave you a little bit about what I'm trying to accomplish on this channel here. And I kind of want to get into something here. And I'm going to start off my monologue here. Sports, okay? Or anything in general, for that matter. Like whatever your thing is, politics, science, sports, movies. Everybody kind of remembers where they were when big things happened in their perspective. Like I said, sports, whatever they're into. Like for instance, for me, I'm a big Mets fan, so I remember exactly where I was when the whole Gets by Buckner thing was happening. I remember I was sitting in my apartment, 14 years old in Queens, sitting there with my dad, and my dad being the Yankee fan and the Mets ball buster that he was telling me, they're gonna lose, and I can just remember being a very passionate baseball fan at 14, saying, no, they're not, and I still had faith in my team. And what do you know? Gets by Buckner happens. But I do remember where I was. As a matter of fact, I remember where I was for every single pitch for every single one of those games. That's some good memory. Then I got the whole why I became a Jets fan debacle. I remember AJ Dewey jumping in front of Richard Todd, intercepting that ball, bang, right into the touchdown. Jets lose in the mud ball. I become a Jets fan. Don't know why. That was the point, no matter where I was 10 years old and I could have went somewhere else, but I still stuck with the Jets. Years and years of heartache. Big Pete, one of the most memorable sports moments, and I'll always remember where I was when Big Pete hit one of the greatest home runs in the history of the Mets. Aiden wakes up, my son says, Dad, let's go down to Citi Field tonight. They're having a watch party. Let's go check it out. We go down there, sit there, all Met fans, 10 to 15,000 people sitting there, real hardcore cheering Met fans. Me and my son sitting there, watching the game, still having faith. Big Pete hits that home run, jump for joy, yelling, screaming, hugging each other. I remember I went that day to buy myself a pair of glasses, and because I obviously do need glasses. And one day, Big Pete's home run, I lose my glasses. I hug my son. We yell and scream and cheer. Mets went on to go to the NLCS where they lost to the Dodgers, and that was a year that I didn't even think they were going to make it to the NLCS. And if you heard my podcast last week, you know how I feel about this year with the Mets. It was an absolute debacle. It's a kind of like too much information story, but 1996, New York Yankees, they win the World Series. I was at a Halloween party in New York City at a place called Turtle Bay, hanging out with my cousins. We were hanging out drinking. It was a long time ago. We were having a good time. Bouncers pretty much had enough because I think maybe one or two times that night, and maybe I tried to take my clothes off. I don't know, but I was a little crazy back then. But I guess on the third time, they just had enough. Bouncer picked me up, put me on his shoulder as I'm watching the television, as the Yankees and all the Yankee fans celebrating the Yankees winning the World Series. I'm getting carried out by a bouncer out of Turtle Bay, watching it on the television, cheering for the New York team, even though I would have liked to see the Mets win that year, but there was no stopping that Yankees dynasty and that Yankees franchise because they went on a run that was just insane. So, yes, I was getting thrown out of a bar. The bar's name was Turtle Bay by a bouncer as the Yankees were winning the 1996 World Series. 1986. Now, this is going to be relevant to the next topic I'm going to talk about. It's New Year's, watching a Penn State Miami Hurricanes football game, Fiesta Bowl, national championship. Me and my cousin Sean, because at that time, my cousin Sean would come over New Year's Eve and we'd hang out and we'd stay up all night. We thought we were like big, tough guys staying up till 3 o'clock in the morning when we were that young. but we would just eat too much chocolate, probably drink too much soda, and probably have stomach aches the next day. But the fact of the matter is, I remember exactly where I was that night, sitting on the pull-out couch with me and my cousin watching this football game. I watched Vinny Testaverde throw an interception to number 31. His name escapes me. At that point, I became a Penn State fan. Now, which leads me to my first topic here. I did a TikTok video the other day about, some of my TikTok videos, might be considered trolling a little bit, or might be considered whatever they consider. But put a quick TikTok video out there about Nick Saban possibly becoming the head coach of the Penn State Nittany Lions. Now, Penn State, I went on to say, has a black eye and how they need somebody to bring them back to relevancy. And I didn't realize, or I guess I did realize, but I hadn't really talked about college football in a long time. But I didn't realize out of the woodwork, all the comments and all the views and all the people who are so passionate about their alma mater or the college football team that they root for, that this was a topic of conversation that got really crazy, talking about how dare you say Penn State has a black eye? How dare you say that Nick Saban would never come to Penn State? I have this guy would come to Penn. Listen, Penn State, okay, they're a big program. They're always relevant. This year, they fired their coach. That's the reason why I said maybe Nick Saban might want to come in and remove the black eye that is the Penn State Nittany Lions. Now, let's talk about the Penn State Nittany Lions for a second, okay? I was a fan. Watch them every year, before this 12 team or 18 thing, whatever they do. Watch them all the time. Watch them, whatever bowl game they were playing on New Year's. I would follow them throughout the year when I was watching college football. But then something happens. Now, something happens to this school, this program, that I believe that anybody who's anybody and could have done any kind of disciplinary action had their eyes closed and didn't do a goddamn thing about the monster Jerry Sandusky that was allowed to coach there for over 30 years. Now, other schools, you could talk about that guy. How about that Olympic coach who molested all those gymnasts? There's monsters out there. Monsters. I mean, I don't know if anybody's seen that documentary on Ohio State about the doctor with the Ohio State wrestling team. This stuff goes on. I mean, I know it's not talked about as setting up little boys to have sex with them through an organization that Penn State knew about, but the Ohio State doctor was a little creepy, man. There's a documentary on HBO Max that talks about how he would invite these guys in and lights would be off and a flashlight would be on their junk and they'd look down and his face would be right in their junk. Who knows what was going on over there? But there's absolute monsters out there. And for Penn State to say that they didn't know that any of this was going on, I have to call bullshit on. It's not a coincidence that, listen, Joe Paterno was old. Understood. Joe Paterno was, and I guess still is for that matter, the king of Penn State University. He is the king of that area. Don't ever say anything disparaging against Joe Paterno. But you know what? Joe Paterno knew damn well what was going on with Jerry Sandusky. Again, like I said, years and years and years and years of success at Penn State. Years and years and years of bowl games. 2 national championships. I just talked about the 1986 national championship, which actually made me become a fan. Barry Switzer was the coach of the Oklahoma Sooners, and he was asked if he feels that Joe Paterno knew what was going on at Penn State. And he said, I'm the coach of a Division I at the time Oklahoma Sooners football team. I know where and when my kids, my coaching staff, and anybody that's related or even remotely connected to my football program is 24 hours a day. Jerry Sandusky became a coach of Penn State in 1969, I believe, or 66, I believe, and started running a nonprofit organization, I guess, for underprivileged kids. This is where he became a predator. Well, that's what they say. Listen, the guy's old. He's in jail. That's not the first time that he's been doing it. This guy's been a piece of garbage his entire life. He adopted 6 kids with his wife. And I don't know what their relationship is. I know Jerry Sandusky's and going to rot in hell after he's dead in jail. I don't know what his wife feels about this, but I know they adopted 6 kids. One of them got arrested for being a child predator. The other one, I think, became a football coach, but I think the Sandusky name is just tarnished when it comes to the fact that what their father or foster father did. I don't give a shit, man. Now, this is a guy that was allowed to do this. Joe Paterno knew what was going on. Now, you could talk about black eyes at some colleges where you talk about, I don't know, maybe there's some money changing hands or illegal activity or kids getting arrested for, gun charges or, those are legitimate black eyes on colleges where, the players just make themselves and their school look like shit. Who remembers Maurice Claret back in the day? Supposed to go to Ohio State. Says he's too young, too small, has to go back to Ohio State. Gets caught for a gun charge. Listen, we could go through stories about players from college that coulda, shoulda, woulda made it. Listen, they're young kids left to their own devices. Some of these young guys could get themselves in trouble. But that's a black eye created by a specific player or, somebody that's going to that school and their character was maybe misjudged. But this is a man that was supposed to be a leader of men on a university that touted themselves as one of the best football programs in the United States of America. And you're the assistant coach and your head coach, Joe Paterno, Joe Pa, beloved Joe Paterno, doesn't know what's going on at this university. I got to call bullshit on this. So the only reason why I'm bringing this up is because I made a couple of comments about Penn State a couple of weeks last week, and I got a little shit on TikTok. If you want to follow my TikTok account, it's Let's Talk 1972 at TikTok. But saying, how dare you say it's a black eye? Well, you know what? You're damn right it's a black eye. And it's going to take years and years and maybe forever for them to climb out of that in a lot of people's eyes. Because when it comes to children in this country, there's a lot of people out there that are doing really bad things to innocent children. And this needs to stop because that is pure, unadulterated evil. Jerry Sandusky, you're in jail right now. I hope you die in jail because you caused so much pain and heartache for so many children that are now adults and that's fucked up lives because of you and what you did to them. I'm not even going to go into the one guy that was on the coaching staff that actually witnessed something happening and didn't say anything. Now, look, you don't know what you're going to do in that situation when you come upon something that's happening like that, but you sure as hell don't turn around, close the door, and say, I didn't see nothing. A lot of people knew and saw something at Penn State University, and you got to hold them responsible. The director, the athletic director, the assistant athletic director, people lost their jobs. Joe Paterno probably died because of it. He was an old man who thought he was going to ride off into the sunset as one of the winningest college coaches ever to put on a whistle. Now he's tarnished because his school allowed the molestation and sex with boys. That's what it is, and that's what it's always going to be in my eyes. So the people out there that Penn State's their alma mater, yeah, you have a black eye. But I understand the love for your school. I understand the love for your alma mater. And I understand that there's bad people everywhere. But yes, you do have a black eye, Penn State. And yes, I'm not a fan anymore because of that. And to be honest with you, a lot of stuff is going on behind closed doors. We don't know about it. And this is something that was actually out in the open. And this is something that absolutely needed to be stopped. And it was. Sandusky's in jail, right? So I guess that's some kind of redemption. I have to think that there's a lot of parents out there, especially the 52 counts of child sex that he is in jail for. 4 of them, I guess they thought they were made up or something, but there's a lot more than 52. But you're convicted of 52, and I hope you die in jail. That's how I feel about Penn State. Look, the program has to push on, and I do understand that it is a big black eye, but Penn State does have to push on. Penn State is looking for a new head coach right now because they fired theirs, and they went on a 3-game losing streak, which was just, I don't even know what happened. Last year, they had one of the number 1 quarterbacks in football, and now I don't know what's going to happen with that program, but they need a new coach. They need a new culture, and they need somebody to kind of lift that stigma a little bit. But for me, from my perspective, I'm never going to watch them again. We had a scandal this week or last week. Huge scandal. I guess for the first 2 days, everybody was talking about it. The NBA gambling scandal. Chauncey Billups, head coach of the Portland Trailblazers. Terry Rozier, been around for a couple of years. He's indicted. Numerous other shady characters indicted. This is a huge problem. Now, I don't think anybody really thought about this problem when they started making gambling legal, which is fun. Throw $20 down on a couple of games on a Sunday afternoon. But for years and years and years and years and years, we know people have had a problem with gambling. Anytime money's involved, there's going to be shady activity. Anytime money's involved, it's going to create problems, especially for people who don't have a lot of money. Especially a lot of people that think that that is their only hope, that they're going to gamble their last $1,000 on whatever basketball game it might be. But if you have inside information on that stuff, that's where it's taken to a different level. Now, if you're just some guy that's betting thousands and thousands of dollars on random baseball, football, basketball, Chinese water polo at 6 o'clock in the morning, because there are guys out there, FanDuel, DraftKings, they just made it that much easier for you. Doesn't mean that it's going to take the problem away because it's legal, but it does give people that opportunity to say, I don't have a gambling problem. I'm just going to pop on my phone for a couple minutes and drop a couple bucks. Then a couple bucks learns to this and it leads to that and leads to that. Well, I'm going to go into Chauncey Billups in a minute, but I want to talk about Terry Rozier and numerous other basketball players that have been caught for this. It's quite easy for a player to go in and have an account under a different name. Get your cousin, get your friend, get somebody, get your cousin's best buddy, or somebody is going to be betting in this person's favor, or somebody's getting the information, somebody's buying this information. So what they're saying is there are people out there that knew that players were going to be hurt, knew the players weren't going to play, or knew some kind of extenuating circumstances. Maybe there was a pregnancy and that person wasn't going to be there on a certain night, and nobody knew about it until that day. But there was players in organizations that had information that was leaked to certain people that would cause them to bet through DraftKings, through FanDuel, through whatever site you're betting on. And they knew stuff was going to happen and they won money. I know there's a cap on a lot of these sites where you can't win more than $250,000. But the point of the matter is there's millions upon millions of people betting through these betting sites. A bunch of them are going to sneak through. And you're never going to find it unless it's a serious investigation into it. Now, you knew this was going to happen. Like, I'm not going to affect the game because I don't know what's going on. If I could affect the game somehow, I mean, the only way I would be able to do it if I was in Back to the Future 3. You guys all remember that when we went Back to the Future and he got that sports betting manual and he came out and he was supposed to win all that money. That would be great. But I don't have that. But there are people out there that do have inside information. There's trainers, there's doctors, there's coaches. Chauncey Billups. But Chauncey Billups is in trouble for something else. There's refs. There's all sorts of people that have inside information. There's apparently somebody right now that is getting in trouble for this, that inside information on LeBron James. Now, you know how I feel about LeBron James. Not a big fan of him. Do I think that he's involved in this directly? I would hope not. The guy's got a shit ton of money. And I would hope that he's not involved in this. But there might be somebody in the locker room that overheard a trainer saying that maybe LeBron can't go on a Tuesday night because he's got something going on with his knee. Or maybe LeBron can't go on Friday night because there's something going on with his family. Whatever it may be, somebody has inside information. I'm not saying it's a specific player. LeBron James is in trouble for something else right now because Russell Westbrook talking about how he's a fake person. I have to agree with that. I'll go into that in a second. But I don't think LeBron James is specifically throwing games, but I do think that there's people involved in the Lakers organization and in every single organization in professional sports that does have a price tag. And maybe does have that in him saying that I got this information on a certain player. If you're willing to buy it from me, this is how much it costs, and you're definitely going to win your bet. So I got to say that is definitely going on. And just from this scandal coming out, Terry Rozier faking an injury, knew he was going to go out before the first half. Now, this is a guy who played on a very high level. This guy has made $160 million playing basketball. That is a lot of money. And that's a lot of money to still say that you're still willing to put your reputation on the line. You're still willing to possibly get caught throwing a basketball game. For you to just actually do that, it's got to be something done about this, because money, though we need it, though everything costs it, it changes people and it makes people do some crazy, crazy shit. So the throwing games aspect of that. Now, what I'm going to talk about here is I was looking at something about this. There's two different types of indictments that are going on. Okay. Now, Chauncey Billups is involved with, right up, straight up. He is literally involved with the mafia. They said it. Watch these podcasts. Even these guys today that have these mafia podcasts, they're even talking about it. They jumped all over this story, and they're saying whatever you guys are seeing is true. I had one guy listen to him the other day. He goes, the way it works is you get people like Chauncey Billups, Terry Rozier, and whoever else is a big face of the NBA to create buzz about a poker game, to create buzz about some kind of hidden apartment, multi-million-dollar apartment, maybe down in Tribeca, or maybe in Soho, or maybe uptown, or maybe in Boston somewhere, where there's these high stakes poker games going on. They get these basketball players, they get these coaches, they get them to attract people to come to these games, and they don't know that they're being sucked into a game that's rigged. Now, this is an elaborate organization that Billups was part of. Okay. Now, this is probably going back really, really far, because the fact that this is just coming onto the radar, this has been going on for years. I know I just spoke before about how gambling is legal online now, but there's still the illegal aspect of it. Okay. And this is what Chauncey Billups is involved with. Now, there's two different types of indictments here. Okay. Now, once is for the illegal poker games. Okay. What happens is they get players, they go out there, they spread the word, like I just said. Maybe you get in some rappers, maybe you get in some other players that don't know what's really happening, what's going on. I mean, look, that's an underworld where it's very, very violent. Stuff could happen. People can die. People get their legs broken. People could have their families killed. All sorts of stuff could happen in this underbelly of what goes on in these underworld poker games, these underworld, life. It's just bad things. So you're getting yourself involved with something that could possibly create damage to you, damage to your family, but still the money is there and you want it and you need it. And we're not talking about people here that don't have money. These high stake poker games are people that have millions of dollars. You talk about the people on the DraftKings and FanDuel and ESPN. These are people like, me, like middle class, working class people. And there's a big constituency of them that are betting on games, $20 here, $30 there. There's also a big constituent of people that have a problem, and that just feeds their problem. We're talking about illegal activity here. You're talking about rappers, gang members, criminals, people who do not want to be taken advantage of. People that know at this time that Chauncey Billups knew that there was x-ray tables underneath the poker table, that there was card counters marking cards, people knowing that what was going to happen, people knowing what cards are going to be dealt next. There was people actually in these poker games sitting at tables knowing that they were going to fuck the guy next to them. Now, like I said, these are people that probably have a lot of money, or these might be people that have a lot of money, that owe a lot of money, and they're trying to recoup that money. I mean, you look at people that have millions and millions of dollars that have a gambling problem, you could gamble millions and millions of dollars. And it only gets worse. Now, what I mean by that is I was listening to a podcast by an ex-mafia member. I don't remember his name, but he does a podcast, which I think is crazy. But he said that what's going to happen is you're going to get a basketball player who's got a lot of money, who owes, let's just say, $300,000 to an illegal gambling establishment. This person is going to go to said basketball player and say, look, I know what your contract's worth, buddy. It's like, what's going to happen is you don't pay me this $300,000. It's like something bad's going to happen. So when the mafia tells you that something bad's going to happen to you, you know that something bad's going to happen to you. So normally, if you're rich, or if you have money, or if you outlets the money, what you're going to do is you're going to go to a different organization and you're going to gamble and you're going to lose, and you're going to go to an illegal poker game. And then maybe you might lose, Or they might get caught up in being the person that brings the people in and maybe might shave off some of that debt, but the debt's just constantly going to rise. And what's going to happen is these bad people are going to in turn look at you and say, you're going to get a knee injury tonight. You're supposed to score 32 points tonight. You're going to get a knee injury and you're going to go out in the first quarter. Heavy money is going your way to get over because you've been kicking ass this week, but you're going to get an injury. And if you don't, you're really going to have an injury. And if this progresses, your family might have an injury. And if this progresses even more, you might stop breathing. But for the person that has this gambling addiction, this gambling problem, they're just going to keep going and going and going and going and going. They're going to go to these games, going to try and win money until possibly they owe millions. It was said that one of my all-time favorite basketball players, Allen Iverson, who's becoming a big topic of conversation now because there's an awesome documentary out about him. He went through $200 million. I don't know if it was gambling. I don't know if it was just hanger on. I know he spent $900,000 in one night on a party with all of his buddies. That's just throwing money around. But these guys that are millionaires, they have problems. They have addictions. They have gambling addictions, but they have a lot of money. But once all that money runs out and they're still in the hole, $2-3 million, and they got to go to these illegal places, that's when the problem shows its true colors. That's when people start getting hurt. So looking at Chauncey Billups, a Hall of Fame basketball player. He's a current, well, he's in jail because he was arrested, current coach of an NBA basketball team, the Portland Trailblazers. So I don't know if he was a tough guy, part of this operation. I don't know if he was a smooth talking guy, maybe getting people to these parties. But all I know is Chauncey Billups is probably going to go to jail, and he may be in jail with some of these people that he fucked out of some money. Or somebody's going to run into Chauncey Billups. Or somebody's going to run into somebody that might have been in that criminal organization and say, what do you mean you're talking? Chauncey Billups has a big, big problem on his hands right now because he's a big NBA personality. There's a big black eye, like I said before on Penn State. There's a kind of a black eye in the NBA right now. But Chauncey Billups is in a lot of trouble, as is Terry Rozier, as is a bunch of other people. There's 31 indictments that came down. 31 accusations. Indictments mean accusations, but I'm telling you, they all got to be true. So I said to you before that there's two different types of indictments here. There's the illegal aspect of it, working with the mafia, which Chauncey Billups and numerous other people are being accused of. And then there's the DraftKings and the FanDuel, kind of like, kind of letting information out. That's a different indictment altogether because one, there's a lot of violence involved. Two, it's defrauding, I guess, these FanDuel/DraftKings websites, kind of knowing what's going to happen and then laundering the money through different aspects. I guess you could say maybe that's a cleaner charge as to the illegal underworld of it, where there's death and murder. And then on the other side, you might have some federal prosecution, maybe some federal jail time. But needless to say, there's two different indictments and people are going to go down. And there's not just, regular run-of-the-mill mafia guys involved in this. There was some really, really big, big, big names involved. When I say big names involved, you're talking about big crime families. And they are not going to sit while these basketball players flaunt around and owe these guys a lot of money, because when it comes time to pay, they got to pay. So the NBA's got a big problem. I don't know if you guys remember, the NFL had a big problem. Calvin Ridley, he's back. He got banned for a year in 2022. I mean, there's Class A's involved in some case right now. So this gambling through these sites is going to become a huge problem because, or not that it's already becoming a huge problem, but the problem being that it just feeds the gambling addiction. And the second problem being that these players are going to look at what's going to be more lucrative for them, throwing games and not playing to their best ability, or playing to their best ability and giving the people what they want, watching a good, solid sporting event where we can get the hell away from all the other bullshit that's going on in our lives. So the NBA's got a big problem. I don't know what's going to happen. Portland Trailblazers are in dismay, I guess, because they don't know who their coach is. They have their assistant coach, but the NBA for me normally doesn't start till February. I know they're playing now. They got that stupid play-in game going where lots of money is going to be bet on that. Lots and lots of money. Lots of money is going to be skewed one way or the other. Who knows? Maybe there's going to be some fraud in that. Maybe there's going to be some illegal gambling because it's going to go on. Chauncey Billups is not the only one. Terry Rozier is not the only one. Calvin Ridley is not the only one. Shoeless Joe Jackson, 500 years ago, it seems like now, but it was actually a little over 100. He participated in that. Pete Rose participated, even though I think he should be in the Hall of Fame because he's one of the greatest hitters ever to pick up a baseball bat. He participated in gambling. And I don't want to hear from any of these guys that they didn't bet against their team. They bet with where they thought the money was going to go. So money makes the world go round, everybody. And this is a problem. And it bothers me to my core. And the reason it bothers me to my core is because all this crazy shit that's going on in the world, at the end of the day, I just want to come home and watch a baseball game with my son or watch a football game with my kids or just disappear from the outside world. But now it's starting to come into that world. It's been coming into that world. I've blocked out the whole BLM bullshit that the NFL was doing, the kneeling thing, whatever comments these guys are making or whatever political stance these players make. I try to block all of that out. I love dogs. I know it's going to sound crazy, but Michael Vick is one of the most exciting football players I've ever seen. Stuff happens, and I try to disconnect it. But when it just starts creeping in, and this gambling stuff, where I could sit there and watch a football game or watch a baseball game or a basketball game, and in my head thinking that some way, somehow, this game is being fixed. Listen to what Dan Campbell said a couple of weeks ago during that Lions-Chiefs game. He thinks that penalty was just out of nowhere. He might be right. I think the NFL might want Pat Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs to win another NFL Super Bowl. But only time will tell. And I think more indictments are going to come down. More arrests are going to happen. But I don't know how to stop it. Because at the end of the day, it's money, it's greed, and somebody is getting paid. And, that's what's going to happen. When you get money, there's going to be federal indictments. There's going to be criminal prosecutions. There's going to be all sorts of crazy shit going down. What else we got here? We have a game 7 tonight. Okay. One more sports topic. Then I got a couple of political things I want to go off on. Okay. We have a game 7 tonight. Now, I'm a baseball fan. I'm a big Mets fan, but baseball is my sport. I love it. And I cannot get enough of it. Beginning of this series, everybody thinks the Dodgers are going to go in. Toronto's got no shot. But you know what, though? Toronto does have a shot. Because tonight, one of the most exciting things in sports is going to happen. I don't care if you're a football fan. I don't care if you're a basketball fan, a baseball fan, a hockey fan, whatever fan you might be. Anytime there's a game 7 to decide who the champion of their respective league is a must-watch situation. Now, I have to let you know that I am pulling for and I am rooting for the Toronto Blue Jays. Love Vladimir Guerrero Sr., and I would love to see Junior put that ring on his finger. Junior is doing his part. The whole team is doing their part. The Toronto Blue Jays are hanging with the Dodgers team that was supposed to come in there and just wreck their world. But through pitching, through big hits, through hard-nosed play, the Toronto Blue Jays are in Toronto tonight with a game 7. Now, I don't know if anybody remembers where they were the last time the Toronto Blue Jays won the World Series, but being the baseball fan that I've been my entire life, I was sitting in a bar in Pelham, looking up at the television, and watching Joe Clark hit that insane home run. That is one of the biggest home runs that was ever hit in World Series history. And I watched it and just wished that was my team. But again, that's what sports is all about. Next year, I'm watching the World Series, knowing that my team's not in it, but loving sports. If you're a sports fan, watching Game 7 tonight is a must watch. And I think the Toronto Blue Jays are going to move on to be the World Series champions. Okay, now we're going to switch up I guess we're going to switch up the tone, I guess you would say, or maybe the rhetoric, as you would say, maybe. But I am going to start talking about politics right now. There's a lot of stuff on the table. Keep Talking 365 is not just about sports. Keep Talking 365 is pretty much whatever I have on my head that I want to talk about for that day. And it's a lot of my opinions and a lot of things that's worth a conversation. So if you're not into the politics and you listen to my sports rant, this is the time to go check something else out. But now I got a couple of things to talk to you about what's going on in this world right now. And it's driving me absolutely insane. It's a government shutdown right now. The government is shut down for an entire month. It's about to go into territory where it's never been before. And it's all because grown men can't get together and make a decision on their own. Look, right now, if you really want to get down to it, from all the rhetoric and what people are saying, the Republican Party looks pretty good right now. The Republican Party has presented a couple of options, and option after option, one of the options was actually paying military and paying the government workers, and they still shot it down. Now, look, there's rhetoric out there, there's narrative out there. There's all sorts of people talking about what they think is going on behind closed doors. I really think that nobody doesn't know a damn thing about what's going on behind closed doors. Now, look, on paper, the Republicans look like, yes, we're doing the right thing. The Democrats do not want to open up the government because of whatever they feel is the reason. The Republicans come out, Mike Johnson keeps saying how we've presented this to them. They still don't want it. Fetterman, Democrat, huge Democrat, is about to leave his party because of the narrative that's going on that left side. You need 60 votes. 60. It's called a filibuster. Today, Donald Trump said he wants to get rid of that 60-vote filibuster so people can move on with their lives. Now, if you listen to people on the right, if you listen to people on the left are going to tell you that people in this country need health care. Very true. But I have to believe some truth to the fact that the Republicans are saying that a lot of people in this country that need health care are not here legally. Now, let's think about that for a second here. All about helping people, okay? But a lot of these people that are going without health care benefits are here illegally. To me, that just doesn't make any sense. To me, that just screams something shady is going on. Okay? So how about we come to some kind of agreement like Trump is talking about right now? And again, this is just because people don't like Donald Trump. No matter what he says, they're not going to give in because he said it. His side said it. The left is never going to succumb to the right. Don't get me wrong. I don't like the extreme conservative right as much as I don't like the extreme liberal left. For Christ's sakes, there was people at a No Kings rally last week and a couple of weeks ago. Watch interviews if people ask them what the hell that even meant. This is ridiculous what's going on in this country, guys. Okay? You know what Donald Trump did the next day? Put a crown on. Okay? That's how he feels about your No Kings rally. And what happened? A bunch of cat ladies went out yelling and screaming. Nothing happened. Okay? This is what's going on in this country. The left is brainwashing the extreme left who just want everybody to get along. And the right conservatives are brainwashing everybody on the right who want this whole to be a theologian society. But everybody in the middle is either A, too scared to speak up or say that their voice isn't going to do anything anyway. But what I do know is today, 42 million people are without SNAP benefits. Now, if anybody knows what SNAP benefits are, it's the benefits that puts food on people's tables who are poor. This is a huge problem. Okay. I don't know if you guys are watching social media. I know social media blows everything up, but there's videos out there talking about if I don't get my SNAP benefits, I'm going to be robbing places. And I get it. I do absolutely get it. I also get it. There's some people that may be on these benefits maybe a little longer than they should, but irregardless, it's a program. It's a program that helps a lot of people. And I don't know about you, but if men can't feed their families, we are going to resort to something against the law. Now, that's across the board. What's going to happen if a lot of these government employees who are living paycheck to paycheck can't feed their families? The same thing that's going to happen when people that are on SNAP benefits can't feed their families. You ask any man that has children what the most important thing in the entire world to them is, they are going to tell you it's the well being, safety of their children. Being a dad, being a father, making sure whatever happened to you or whatever you went through in your life or whatever happened, you have to make sure your children are okay. And if there's even an inkling that your children aren't going to be okay, and the only resort is to illegal activity or violence, men are going to resort to it. Women might yell and scream. Women are going to be upset. But if a man is being backed into a corner and he feels he can't protect his family, he is going to resort to violence. It's just the way it is. Now, you have a lot of people in this country right now that are fucked. I just went through a situation on my job. I'm not going to go into it, but it's not as crazy as what's going on in the world today. But when you go to work every day, you don't go to work because you want to. Now, listen, some people that they have this job. Maybe they making millions and millions of dollars, and they're just happy. But at the end of the day, nobody really wants to get up and go into that job, whatever they have, because they would much rather be home with their families. But there's a big thing involved with you going to work every day, and that's a paycheck. Now, you could be a part of a team, you could be part of a company for 40, 30, whatever years. You can make friends in that prospective career, you can make friends. But at the end of the day, all you want is your paycheck because your paycheck is what keeps life going. When that's in jeopardy, that's when shit's gonna hit the fan. These air traffic controllers out there, they're not millionaires. You're going to tell them that they have to go to work even though they're not getting paid. That's shit will fly maybe for 1 week, and then the second week, and then the third week. Then what happens after the fourth week? Then what happens after you have to start going to the food bank? Then what happens after you have to start waiting in line, for unemployment benefits? What happens to all these workers when they can't pay their bills? And I am not talking about people who live in lavish $1 million mansions. I'm talking about men and women and children living in modest homes, trying to scrape by maybe a vacation, trying to scrape by and pay all their bills so the kids have a little joy in their lives. And that has came to a stop, all because the government can't get along. Now, I know that it's going to be everybody's saying this. It's going to be cliche to say. But you know what? There's everyday working people that are going to lose their benefits and they're going to lose their paychecks. But the goddamn government is still getting paid. Now, they could say all they want that they're going to be donating it to charity, as a couple of them said. That's a fucking tax write-off. You got Hakeem Jeffries up there saying, oh, we're trying. You and all your other constituents, well, not you, because you're the minority leader, you're making $193,000 a year lying to the public. The other side is also Mike Johnson. You're up there, right? You're making $223,000. Now, on paper, the right's trying to come up with some kind of thing that they can come to some kind of conclusion so people start getting paid. But the bottom line is every single person that says they're up there fighting for you, it's fucking bullshit. They're all getting their paychecks. While modest workers that work for the government, while people are losing their benefits, and that right now, this is all just a big who's going to be the people to blame for me not getting my benefits? Who's the people that are going to blame for me not having my job? Who's going to be blamed for shutting down the government? It's your own fault. It's all of your fault. It's both sides. Grow the fuck up, come to a conclusion, open the goddamn government, and let's start acting like Americans, not like babies. It's so easy to talk about this stuff when you're getting your goddamn paychecks. It's easy for Hakeem Jeffries and Mike Johnson to meet each other in the hallway and have a moment saying, it's your fault, it's my fault, it's my fault, it's your fault. Both of you guys need to shut the fuck up and open the goddamn government. Because there's poor people losing benefits, there's working class people losing jobs, and there's rich people just getting richer. That's how this world is right now. I don't want to hear about the right and left anymore. I'm going to go off on this in a second. I'm going to go off on what happened to Charlie Kirk. Became a right and a left issue, became a Jew issue, became this issue. America has to start coming together. I know this is going to sound crazy, but you got people fleeing the Democratic Party and you got people fleeing the Republican Party. People are sick and tired of one side or the other. I said the other day, people have all sorts of definitions of what they think a nationalist is. You could be a white nationalist. You could be a whatever, a Zion national, whatever the hell you be. But nationalism to me means love for your country, love for your flag, and love for the people that involved in these borders. I understand that it's hard for people that come to this country to make it. I understand they're coming from places that is really, really, really shitty. But we have a shitty person problem in this country. We can't even feed our own homeless. We can't even give benefits to people who have drug and alcohol problems in this country. Mental health is a big issue in this country. Add that to millions and millions of people that came here with those same issues. Now we have to take care of both of them. Listen, man, I understand this country has a lot of problems and a lot of weak people in this country, but I think we need to take care of our weak people before we take care of anybody else. Portland, ashamed of yourself. Sanctuary cities, you should be ashamed of yourself. I understand that it's an issue of, these poor people that, they need help. I understand they need help. But we allowed 30 million plus people to come into this country undocumented, running around, doing whatever they want. That's not okay. Whether you're on the right or whether you're on the left, start worrying about Americans. And again, start worrying about American homeless, American poverty, American drug alcohol rehab. Start worrying about that. They have scams for everything these days. People are making money on both sides, whether it be people on the right making money, people on the left making money, but in confusion, in chaos, somebody's making money to allow what is going on today. And I have to believe that when they sit in these rooms and they yell at each other and scream at each other with their self-centered arguments, they're look at me, look what I'm trying to do. Hakeem Jeffries, look at me, look what I'm trying to do for you weak people. Mike Johnson, look at me, look what I'm trying to do to try and keep the government open. The government has way too much power. And again, I'm not going a libertarian view where I think that no government, I think that we need something to keep us in check as Americans, but it needs to be middle of the road. It needs to be taken away from the extreme right, and it needs to be taken away from the extreme left, because that's a problem. I mean, if you don't think that's a problem, guys, I mean, let's start speaking up. How about this? About every red-blooded American walk to the White House and eventually just everybody just show up on the front stoop. How about millions of people show up on the front stoop? I know it's an old term talking about stoop, but everybody just stand there and just say why. Just say help. Not help these specific people, not help those specific people. Help the people that really need the help. Taxes just keep going up and up and up and up. I don't see nothing. Taxes will never go down. Get rid of the IRS, right? Because they're shady too. Why was the Biden administration going to hire 80,000 new IRS agents? Don't understand it. Look, free speech issue between the right and the left. I understand right now there's people out there that want Jimmy Kimmel canceled. They want all these fat cat ladies that are running around talking about they're glad that Charlie Kirk is dead, talking shit about Charlie Kirk's family. Just all sorts of people saying crazy shit on the left right now, which I don't think they should be canceled. I think that they could be taken care of by their prospective people and say, listen, maybe you shouldn't say that, but these people can say that. These are the same people that wanted monuments taken down of Ulysses S. Grant, George Washington. People are getting crazy in this country and they wanted to erase history because they didn't want people to see history and realize that shit came from somewhere and people moved on. Shit happened. So on one side, you want people canceled like Jimmy Kimmel for saying how they feel. And then the other side wanted people and to rip down statues and to rip down monuments because of what they represented. At the end of the day, you're both wrong because stuff happened. This is America. You should be able to say what you want. You also should be able to have a debate about it, which is what happened with Charlie Kirk. Now, I want to make a couple of comments about Charlie Kirk. I'm not going to go too much in it, but when he died over 6 weeks ago, when he was shot right in the neck, from that day forward, I don't think anybody really knew who he actually was. Now, listen to that, what I just said for a second. I don't think anybody really knew who he was. The minute somebody dies, right? Everybody has their opinion. Everybody says, oh, I knew him in college. Everybody says, oh, I knew him for 30 years. We were friends. We used to meet every Tuesday for dinner. I'm his wife. I was married to him. I knew exactly who he was. Politicians, Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, two people that claim to know him very, very well. Everybody has an opinion on who somebody actually was when the person actually isn't here to defend themselves or to say, wait a second, that's not true. That's not who I am. Posthumously giving him a Medal of Freedom award, Donald Trump. I can't believe they gave Charlie Kirk the Medal of Freedom. What did he ever do? A, Charlie Kirk is dead and can't say that he probably didn't deserve that. B, Trump. He just has to be all pomp and circumstance, which is fine. He's my president. I voted for him, and I would do it again. But there definitely is some things that he does that really kind of rub me the wrong way, but that's all right again. He's my president. But back to Charlie Kirk for a second. If you ask some of his friends, they could tell you that he was a very spiritual guy. You ask some people, maybe he was a very loud, boisterous guy. Or maybe people think on the other side that maybe he might have been a racist. Maybe he might have been against transgender people. Maybe he might have been working for the Jewish community. Or maybe he might have been working for some other community that was against the Jewish community. Person that's in jail right now for murdering Charlie Kirk. Did he really do that? In 6 weeks, we have posthumously built up this rhetoric of who this person is and who this person was. It's all to say that this is who I thought he was. But at the end of the day, come on. Okay. My wife is a client right now, so I got to kind of lower my voice a little bit. But all right. Anyway, so that's what happens when you do stuff live. But I have to lower my voice a little bit because she has a client in the other room. But what I was trying to say about Charlie Kirk is all this stuff is posthumous. The only person who really knew who Charlie Kirk was Charlie Kirk himself. Charlie Kirk, the man that was sitting in a room at night thinking about what's going on in the world, thinking about going to these college campuses and kind of, educating maybe this young generation of super righties and super lefties and saying, let's all talk. I mean, if anybody out there thought that he had a racist bone in his body or a biased bone in his body, I mean, I guess he was who he was. And posthumously talking shit about somebody and saying, I knew him, nobody really, really knew who Charlie Kirk was. And all this stuff you want to talk about him saying, all this rhetoric saying, you know, all these, how about that? How let's just break it down to all the bad stuff that people say and they think they knew about him. Okay. People saying that he was possibly going to get a divorce. There was divorce papers signed. He had some meeting with Bill Ackman. Whatever you're going to say. But you know what? There's two children involved. And these two children are going to have social media someday. These two children are going to turn on X and they're going to see a video of their father being shot in the neck. They're going to turn on a video on some social media platform like YouTube or something, and they're going to see people talking about how they think he was a bad person. They're going to see people mimicking what happened to him. They're going to see people saying that they're glad that their father is dead. That is so tragic. Now, words, like I said, it's freedom of speech, but these words hurt people. Now, you could say what you want. I have very, very, very high tolerance for stuff like that. I don't take stuff seriously when stuff's said. But there's two children that their minds are being molded right now. People pulling them in all sorts of different directions, saying that your dad was this person, your dad was that person. I'm sure they've seen the video by now because it's all over the place and they're young kids, unless that they're being totally taken away from social media. But I do believe that there's two children involved and we have to stop the bullshit. We have to stop trying to silence people when they want to talk, whether it be the truth or not. We have to stop. America, we have to come together more. We have to realize that there's so many bigger issues out there that need to be taken care of than whether some guy wants to chop his dick off and compete in sports or any of these other crazy narratives, whether we need to have the 10 commandments in school or who's a terrorist or who's not a terrorist. Let's all come together and get some common sense, because I'm about to talk about a part of this country right now that is on the border of Canada. And I got to tell you, just from seeing what happened this morning, is they're letting terrorists in. I I just jumped from Charlie Kirk to what's going on there, but listen, Charlie Kirk to me, I stumbled upon him about a year ago. I loved, loved listening to him speak at these college campuses. And I don't think that there was a bad bone in this man's body. I think he was a very spiritual guy, but posthumously telling me that I'm wrong for thinking that about a man is stupid. Because at the end of the day, Charlie Kirk was the only one who knew how Charlie Kirk felt. And he's dead. And he can't defend himself on this one. And I am positive that he would have been able to construct a very intelligent, a very bipartisan, very middle of the road, and a very smart conversation for what is going on right now. And I don't think that he would have wanted to be dragged into all this bullshit, but right now he's becoming a symbol of both the right and the left. And I don't think it's fair to his children. But that's what the media does. This morning, Dearborn, Michigan, 5 20-something year olds arrested for a Pumpkin Day terror plot. Dearborn, Michigan. I mean, that's a part of the country that you all know. Let's be honest. There's a Lebanese mayor of Dearborn. Okay, Michigan. There's a very liberal and very huge Arab community that lives in Michigan. There's a lot of mayors of Arab descent, kind of like their neighbors to kind of like the northwest over there, Minnesota. Piece of shit, Elian Omar, Congresswoman. She's from Mogadishu, became a citizen in 2017. You know who the governor of that state is? Pussy boy, Tim Walz. You guys all know Tim Walz from actively coming out and telling the whole world that he was a feminist, that I'm a male feminist. I don't know about you guys, but if a man ever said to me that they're a male feminist, that definitely has to have a conversation. That's not something that just should be glanced over when you tell the entire world that you're a male feminist and you're the governor of Minnesota. You're just going to disappear and go away somewhere. Because even when you try to act tough, you look like more of a pussy. But you have a congresswoman in your state, Minneapolis, that is a sympathizer to terrorists, that wants terrorists to come into this country and destroy it from the inside out. Everybody's worried about the Mexican border with the cartels. And, we have a big problem down there. Got Trump blowing up Venezuelan drug boats, saying, oh my God, there was no warning. He's like, I don't need a warning. I'm just going to kill people that are going to bring drugs into this country. It sounds great. I mean, these are bad people, right? I mean, you don't want fentanyl coming into this country, right? You don't want cocaine coming into this country. Maybe some of you do, but not me. Heroin coming into this country. No, we don't want this stuff. Heroin coming into this country. We have a big opioid problem in this country, and it's all pharmaceutical company run. So yeah, I guess the United States of America wants these poppy plants coming here so they can feed their Pfizers and feed their Modernas and feed their opioid addictions. But up north, slowly but surely, like I said, Dearborn, Lebanese mayor, Elian Omar, Mogadishu, Somalia. She's a congresswoman up there. And take your pick of all these little cities and senators and congress people. I mean, you look around that Canadian border. Right now, you got Maine. Maine's a disaster. Janet Mills is a piece of garbage. Yes, I said it. And I said it a couple of months ago. And I said it on a TikTok video. And I got a lot of shit from people from Maine. But the smart people of Maine realize that Maine is a shithole. It's a liberal state and just inviting people in through that border. Okay? Vermont's always been a very liberal state, right? Bernie Sanders there for a long time. They've always been very liberal. Got New York. You all know what's going on in New York. I am going to get to New York City in a minute. Kathy Hochul, she sucks. Sucking up to Mamdani down in New York City. Sucking up to her liberal friends. This is a problem. The problem on so many levels because these are young extremists. Apparently, they have one of these kids in custody that's going to blow the lid on everything. I don't believe it. I hope it's true. I also think that there's a part of me that does think that we're being protected because out of the blue, 520 somethings, maybe it's calculated. Maybe it's like that drug truck that comes over the border and gets busted. So the other drugs come through from the Mexican border. Maybe it's 5 kids that got busted while the other 25 come into the country and just create havoc. Somebody in the government, in the political scope of what's going on here, is trying to destroy us from the inside out. And it's working. It is absolutely working. Because this guy that's running for mayor right now, I've had videos talking about Mr. Zoran Mandani. Okay. First, let's talk about the other candidates there for a second, because I don't want to I want to give them any of their less due. I don't know if you guys watched these two debates. Now, we have in our hands, we have Mr. Cuomo, Andrew Cuomo. Andrew Cuomo actually let an ad go by that had some 65 to 70-year-old woman, probably from Brooklyn, saying that I'm going to vote for Andrew Cuomo because he kicks everybody's ass. I'm going to vote for Andrew Cuomo because he's tough. He's definitely what New York is made of. Let's talk about Andrew Cuomo for a second. Andrew Cuomo was governor, okay? And the number right now is about 2,000 people were released on his bail reform bullshit when he was governor. He had to step down because he was pinching girls' asses in the office. I mean, is that true? Is that not true? Whatever it is. He says there's no litigation happening right now, but other people say there is. I don't know. He's also very well known for hiding COVID deaths at nursing homes or upping the numbers of people that died of old age and saying they died of COVID. These are things that this man has done. So, Andrew Cuomo, you want to vote for a career politician? You want to vote for a guy who's got connections in Washington, who says he's going to fight Trump tooth and nail when he comes in here, or he's not going to give in to Trump? That's the guy you want to be the mayor. Then go vote for Andrew Cuomo. You got Curtis Sliwa. The only thing I got to say about Curtis Sliwa is Curtis Sliwa should be the mayor of New York City because he loves New York City. So if you want to look at these three candidates, Curtis Sliwa is your best choice because he loves New York City. Now, you want to talk about the third candidate here, now Mamdani. Mamdani to me is, I was trying to think of a little description of what I think he is. He's a little boy with dreams of making everything in New York City free, disguised as a coyote, waiting to run with his pack of Muslim mayors and governors and political constituents that want to destroy this country from the inside out. If you want to look at this guy and the way he talks you through the side of his mouth. He's got that big shit-eating bullshit smile on his face all the time. He's a little boy with big dreams of destroying one of the greatest cities on the planet. When people think of New York City, they think of money, they think of wealth, they think of, holy shit, I'm in New York City. I work there every day. It's a shithole, and it's about to get worse. Because if all these polls are correct, it has little boy Mamdani winning right now. I also don't understand the logic behind everybody telling Curtis Sliwa to drop out. Why doesn't Cuomo drop out? Cuomo lost his primary to this little boy. This little boy beat Andrew Cuomo and is the primary winner for the Democratic Party for New York City. Look, I get it. I understand we're a democratic society, but are we a socialist society in New York City? Andrew Cuomo is going for a job that he lost in the primary to his own party. He had to go to the independent party. I'm an independent. I don't want him in the independent party. He just wanted to latch on to something that was going to make his name relevant. He's already Andrew Cuomo. He's a lifetime politician. He's got friends in Washington, like I said. If you want that to be your mayor, then let that be your mayor. Wants Curtis Sliwa to be a mayor? Vote for Curtis Sliwa, guys. I'm going to go into some of the reasons why Mamdani should not be the mayor of New York City in a second. And the one reason why Curtis Sliwa needs to be the mayor of New York City. How about Cuomo drop out and maybe that number goes up because he's legitimately running on a Republican ticket? How about Cuomo drop out and put his support behind Curtis Sliwa and stop the Democratic Socialist Party from coming into New York City? But no, Everybody wants Sliwa to drop out. Sliwa is the only qualified candidate for the mayor of New York City. And you could tell me about everybody else's qualifications, about they went to this school, they stand for this, they have this political, you know, resume. The only resume right now that I see needed for New York City is somebody who loves New York City, and that's Curtis Sliwa. So voting, Curtis Sliwa, mayor of New York City. Do I think that's going to happen? Absolutely not. What I do think is going to happen is the person I'm about to explain to you, he's going to become your mayor. Okay, now let's talk about some of the stuff that he wants to do here. Okay. As much as he says he's had conversations with the New York City Police Department, he doesn't like the New York City Police Department. He hates them. He wants to defund them. He's been saying it in the past. He does not want people to be, I don't even know what I'm trying to say here. Like, he's not trying to have a conversation with individual police officers who he may have wronged with his words. He has not outwardly said that he's sorry for saying those things about the New York City Police Department. He also hasn't denounced, jihad either, pretty much, when you think about it, some of the people he hangs out with. But there's two things going on here that's going to create a huge problem for him. A, as much as you guys don't think so, he does want to defund the police. He does want therapists and psychologists and sociologists and whoever to come in and intervene with crazy people when he says the New York City Police Department should be doing other things. And I've said this in the past. There is nobody in New York City more equipped to deal with crazy people than the NYPD. Not a therapist, not a doctor, not an activist. The NYPD is fully equipped to deal with crazy people. Just let them do their job. That's what I have to say about the defunding of the police. How about we change that term to refunding the police? How about we put more money towards the police department? How about we give them more money for training? You guys say these certain things have to be changed with the police department? Sure. How about we train them better? How about we train them in de-escalation techniques? How about we train them in jujitsu? How about we train them more in self-defense? Maybe we make the academy a little bit longer. But bottom line is, we need more cops on the streets. We need more qualified, hardworking, smart, uniformed cops all over New York City. We need to put different turnstiles on the subway so people don't jump. Leaving work the other day, and just as a little practice in my own head, I sat there and I watched $150 go through the turnstile in the 5 minutes I was waiting for the train. And I'm not even just talking about homeless people doing it. I'm talking about normal, everyday working class people jumping the turnstile. That's money right there. So don't tell me that the MTA doesn't have enough money. I bet you start there. And I bet you start with refunding the police. And let's stop people from being set on fire in the subways. Let's stop looking at the stuff that happened with Daniel Penny and having to have an opinion on that. I think Daniel Penny was a goddamn hero. These are stuffs that happen in the subway that you need police officers to de-escalate, to arrest people, to intervene. You don't need therapists and you don't need psychiatrists. You need more police. Mamdani needs to know that, but Mamdani doesn't think that. Even to add to that problem is talking about shutting down Rikers Island by 2027. I grew up in Queens. Everybody knows Rikers Island is not a great place. Thankfully, I've never been there. Thankfully, I don't want to go there. And thankfully, I never plan on going there. But the people that are there are hardened criminals. These are men and women that don't give a fuck. These people are locked away in Rikers Island, which we all know is kind of like a stepping stone before they get sent somewhere else. But these are bad people. These are gang members, drug dealers, drug addicts, homeless people, crazy people, all sorts of people locked behind these walls. And Zohran Mamdani wants to shut this place down. Now let's listen to this timeline. Okay. His whole plan behind that is he wants to build smaller jails throughout the city to house people and put them away. He also wants to let people out of Rikers Island who he doesn't deem as a public safety hazard. So A, there's going to be people being let out of Rikers Island when it gets shut down. And B, supposedly people are going to get shuffled to other prisons. He wants to shut this down by 2027. There is not one construction project going on right now that is building a jail under his plan. So you want to shut down 2027? Where are all these criminals going to go? Where are all these crazy people going to go? They're going to go right out into the streets of New York. Which what happened a long time ago in the 70s when they released all the crazy people out into the streets of New York. Crazy people went out and had sex in the street, and crazy people had children. By this time, those crazy children had their own children. So throughout the years from the 60s, 70s up until now, you shut down psychiatric wards back in the day, let crazy people into the streets. Now you're going to shut down Rikers Island and let criminals out into the streets. Good luck with that. Because Zoran Mamdani, that plan to defund the police is going to come back to bite you in the ass. Who's going to be the commissioner of a police department? AOC? We're going to get down to come and help you out there. Bernie Sanders? This is the narrative that you're going to run through. New York City is a big, big problem if he becomes the mayor. There's also a huge, and now look, when President Trump was running for president, everybody says, I can't believe you're going to vote for this guy. David Duke backs him. Or I can't believe you're going to vote for this guy. These right-wing, racist organizations are going to vote for him. Okay. You got a big, big problem with that. Now on a smaller scale, you have people out there that are backing this guy, like the Democratic Socialists of America. It's a 80,000 member group of socialists that are backing him for mayor of New York City. Okay. This is a problem. Okay. Picture day, right? Picture time. Okay. Guys, remember that picture when he was on his wedding back with the that prime minister of Uganda? What's her name? I just need to find out this chick's name. Okay. Zoran Mamdani has a picture with Rebecca Kadaga. Now, you really don't know Rebecca Kadaga if you live in the United States, but if you live in Uganda and you're gay, you definitely know who Rebecca is. Because Rebecca wants you dead or in jail at least. Zoran Mamdani comes from a country where that's okay. Now, look, he came here when he was 3. Oh, great. I'm going to tell you a little bit about who his father is in a second, too. His mother, too. These are people that he surrounds himself with. He's got a buddy of his that does a podcast. Now, that's fine. You can't be, responsible for what your friends say, but this guy's a sympathizer for what happened at 9/11. He said that he's happy that it happened. This guy does a podcast in the United States of America. Anti-American sentiment. Okay? Here's the other picture. Remember the guy that was a 1993 World Trade Center conspirator? Remember the guy that said death to Americans? Remember the guy that's 75 years old that lives in Brooklyn, that is an imam? And there's a picture of him and Zoran Mamdani smiling. Mamdani said that. He just took a picture with him. So-and-so talked to him. Bloomberg talked to him. This one, Cuomo talked. But there's no pictures of the two of them out there. There is a picture of you and him smiling on the cover of every single newspaper in New York City. This person wants Americans dead. So you got one person smiling that wants gay people dead. And you got another person smiling on the front page of newspapers that wants Americans dead. These are the people that he hangs out with. These are the people that he talks to. These are the people that he does not denounce. He said something a couple of weeks ago that kind of put a little bit of a chill, not because of what he said, because of how he said it. I am going to become the first Muslim mayor in New York City history. Are we okay with that, New York City? Maybe. Are we okay with the fact that 25 years ago, we saw the Twin Towers supposedly get hit by Arabic people? Don't know where they're from. Supposedly they were Muslims. There's a lot of rhetoric surrounding the World Trade Center right now. I, for one, is slightly embarrassed about the fact that I let my American pride get in the way and say that there was no, tomfoolery or foolishness going on with the World Trade Center bombing and the World Trade Center explosion. But I do think that there's something behind a lot of these so-called conspiracies now. But this is a man who sympathizes with the people who supposedly blew up the Twin Towers. I do want to go into a little 9/11 conspiracy podcast soon, and I have a couple people that I really want on. I just have to get their time. So Zohar Mamdani wants to be your first ever Muslim mayor. Let's talk about his dad for a second, okay? Now, we all have fathers. We all have a relationship with our fathers. Some have good relationship with their dads. Some have bad relationship with their dads. This guy seems to come from a family that, they have a pretty good family life. I would have to assume that Zohar Mamdani respects his father and mother. This guy has been in this country for 60 years promoting hate. He was allowed to be a professor at NYU. He's allowed to speak at speaking engagements where he tells people that Nazi Germany should be assimilated with the way American people treated the Native Americans on reservations. He is preaching to college kids that Adolf Hitler killed so many Jews because of how the United States of America treated the Native Americans and put them on reservations. He compared Native American reservations to concentration camps in Hitler's eyes. He's been preaching American hate for 60 years in this country. This is your father. This is a man who lived in Uganda. And you're going to tell me that your dad doesn't call you up at night and say, how we doing with the mayoral race, Zoran? You're going to tell me that this guy isn't proud of his son because of what he's doing? Him becoming mayor of New York City is going to be so bad for what people are trying to accomplish down there. There's going to be so many hindrances. New York City is so far gone that I don't think that it's able to be repaired. I'm retiring soon from my job where I do not have to go to New York City anymore. As a matter of fact, I'm hopefully going to be moving somewhere very soon to a different state, to a state where normal people have a voice. And there's a lot of beaches down there too. That helps. But New York City, New York State, a lot of people are leaving. Something called the Mamdani effect. You guys know what the Mamdani effect is? My house right now, 6 months from now, could probably add about 250 to 300,000 on top of what my house is worth right now, because the fleeing of common sense New Yorkers is going to be so crazy that if you live anywhere past the Yonkers border and want to sell your house, wait 3 or 4 months, guys, because the prices are going to go through the roof. Now, if you haven't got where I'm coming from, Zohar Mamdani should not be the mayor of New York City. This is a message to New York City that I'm going to say to you guys right now. Curtis Sliwa should be the mayor of New York City. For none other than the reason is the man loves New York City and wants to see it thrive. Andrew Cuomo is a career politician that doesn't care one way or the other about the New York City people. He just wants to have his title. He doesn't want to go out of irrelevancy, out of the political focus. And then Zohar Mamdani, the little boy who wants to give everybody everything for free and destroy America/New York City from the inside out. Your clear choice is Curtis Sliwa. Go out on election day and do the right thing and vote for somebody who actually cares about the city of New York and not two people that have agendas. Vote Curtis Sliwa. That's my Curtis Sliwa announcement. I love the guy. And I think he's unflappable. I think he's not taking money. I think he truly cares. And if you're willing to put that silly red beret on and go beat up criminals in the subways in the 80s and 90s, you got my vote, brother. All right, so that's my show for today. Went on about an hour and 24 minutes. This is Keep Talking 365. Come check out my YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button. I'm also on TikTok at Let's Talk 1972. And go check out our Facebook page too. I got Keep Talking 365 on Facebook as well. Hit subscribe and like for all those different social media platforms. It's going to help me out. And there's going to be a lot more continuity coming your way and a lot more content. So keep listening to Keep Talking 365. I am out. Enjoy the rest of your beautiful fall day.